brief yoga philosophy based psychotherapy in substance use disorders. Now, this concept, of using yoga philosophy for psychotherapy is clearly emerging now. We see that there are very important theoretical frameworks that have come up, and now, preliminary evidences have started to come, and especially, there is, a need in country like India to develop culturally sensitive psychotherapy interventions. And towards this direction, we have done a small research, and I would like to share, the concepts and ideas from that research, where we could develop a small, a brief yoga philosophy based psychotherapy program for people suffering from substance use disorder. Now, what are the theoretical constructs that we can use? See, Patanjali describes this agitation that comes with substance use, and the craving for the sense pleasure, as the obstacle in the path of yoga. Correct? Obstacles in the path of yoga have been called as antaraya. Antaraya, chitta vikshepaha te antarayaha. It means these are the distractions in the chitta, and therefore these distractions are called as the obstacles in the path of yoga, and there are 9 of them, and among the 9 of them there is one which is excessive craving for sense organ pleasure. Correct? Can anybody who is there here offline or those who are online, can anybody tell me what is that obstacle which means excessive craving for sense pleasure among the 9 obstacles or antarayas that Patanjali describes? People can unmute and share. Yes. So wonderful, Saurindra. Avirati. Vyadhi, Styan, Samshaya, Pramad, Alasya. Then comes Avirati. Avirati is inability to be still or relaxed because of the craving for sense pleasure. Restlessness because the person is craving for sense pleasure. That obstacle has been called as avirati. Okay. Now, to overcome that avirati, Patanjali says to overcome not only avirati but in fact all the obstacles. Patanjali says pratyak chetana adhigamo antaraya abhavascha. From that practice, the consciousness turns inwards and the obstacles are removed. Tataha pratyak chetanadhikamo. So, Patanjali describes that to overcome the obstacle, you have to turn the awareness inwards. Normally, the direction of awareness is that it always goes out. You have to turn it inwards. By turning it inwards, obstacles can be overcome. So, one of the major objective of this module is to make the person introspect, to let him go inwards. So, I told you 2 practices, and from this sutra, concept of turning the awareness inwards comes. This figure and this parable of the chariot plays a very, very important role in psychotherapy, and in fact, when the psychotherapy program is delivered, you should show this image to the person. Okay. Now, what does this image talk about? This comes from Katha Upanishad, where Yama and Nachiketa have a dialogue, and Yama describes that the whole body is in the form of a chariot. Correct? And here the 5 horses are the 5 sense organs. The buddhi or the intellect, which is the prefrontal cortex, it is the charioteer. The lower brain, mid-brain area, amygdala, reward circuit is the manas. So, you can see that the intellect is trying to control the senses through the mind. Now, if the rider is not skillful, and horses are very powerful, hmm, then he will not be able to control the chariot. Correct? Then what will happen? The chariot will not reach its destination, it will go somewhere else. My destination is, if I am a student, I have to, you know, get the skills that I have to get, complete my course, you know, with good marks. But then when substance comes in, I am not able to gain or acquire the skills that I have to. I am not able to do justice to what I am learning, and that is how my chariot deranges. No, it derails from its path. Same way in any walk of life, if you are an employee, or if you are even a household person, you will not be able to fulfill any responsibility or any duty. Correct? Now, the way here when you explain this chariot is, the whole approach is how to tame down these horses. For that, the person who is managing them, the intellect, has to be skillful. Hmm? Now, for that intellect or buddhi to gain strength, how can you make buddhis? How can you enhance buddhi's strength? What do you think? Anyone? Online or offline? One is, of course, by practice. You can do more Kapalabhati, Om chanting. Then, what else can make this
uh,
more skillful? Yes.
Increasing our cognitive capacity
How?
uh, through through thinking in a correct way, which is more aligned with yogic principles.
Hmm. So, what Shreyas is speaking about is using self analysis. Hmm? So, questioning oneself. Okay. Uh, first of all, becoming aware that my chariot has lost its way. Hmm? Second, what is my way? Third, what is it, that is not allowing me to reach my goal? And very fundamental questions, hmm, like, who is it who is suffering? Hmm? So, in this kind of self analysis, this is known as path of Jnana Yoga. Hmm? That is one approach. Then, any other approach through which this fellow, the charioteer, can be strengthened? One is cognitive, that is questioning and self analysis, Jnana Yoga. Then,
So
Emotional
following the yam
regulation.
and niyam.
huh,
So following the yam and niyam principles in a day-to-day life.
yes, Deepthi, it is easier to say that you should follow these five yama, five niyama, but then you have to, not that these people do not know what they should do, what they should not do. People who are into substance use, they know, they have that information. The the question is, we cannot force them unless and until it comes from within the person. It cannot be enforced like that. If you do like that, it doesn't work. So directly yama niyama, telling them, probably may not work. The whole idea in psychotherapy is that it should come from the person, what he has to do. Correct? So,
Yes, sir.
one approach was encouraging him for self analysis. Correct? Any other
Yes, sir.
approach? Any other approach?
One of the major triggers for substance use is emotional dysregulation.
Hmm.
So, emotional cultivation.
Hmm. Beautiful. So, emotion cultivation. You generally see that people who get into substance use actually are very friendly. They like socializing with people. And when there are interpersonal or emotional related conflicts, it is then that their substance use also becomes more. You know, he loves somebody and that person hurts the person, he gets more into substance. So, the emotion play a very important role, that is for sure. Now, can these emotions be cultivated in a better way? That we call it as the bhava shuddhi. How from expecting something the person gets into the mode of giving, or connecting to some higher force. If the person believes in God, can he, surrender to God, to a guru? There is story, where Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had a student who was a drunkard. He was an alcoholic, and he came to Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and said, "I like whatever you say. I like all the thoughts, everything, and I really respect you. And I want to follow whatever you say. I will do everything except one: alcohol. I will not give up." Hmm? Then Ramakrishna Paramahamsa told him, "Okay, I'm not asking you to leave anything, but I am asking you to give everything to me. So whatever you eat, whatever you drink, before drinking, offer it to me." Hmm? And the person started doing that. He says before he was drinking, in the glass of alcohol, he could see Ramakrishna Paramahamsa in that water. And then he would drink, but then he observed that as his devotion towards his guru grew, he did not get that pleasure from the alcohol. It started creating some kind of a change within him. And this is in Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. There is this anecdotal case report where the person who was actually a great drama artist at that time, I'm forgetting his name, he comes out of addiction completely just by one thing: offering everything to the guru and being sincere to him. So here bhakti comes as another approach for strengthening the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Correct? Because how does it strengthen? There are two ways of strengthening. One is you improve the skill of the charioteer itself, but other is you tame down the horses by, the reins, the mind in its regulation. So the reins have to be regulated. Sometimes they have to be kept loose, sometimes they have to be kept tight. That probably comes from the approach of emotion cultivation. That is the second approach. Third is using the practice, which is Raj Yoga. This Kapalabhati, Om chanting, these practices. So three approaches are there, correct? And the fourth one is, okay, I am not able to come out of my problem. I have tried everything. I am unable to do anything. Fine. I cannot help myself. Right? Person reaches that kind of a state. Then what I will do is, I will help others. Whenever I am in my awareness, whatever I can do, मेरा तो मैं कुछ नहीं कर सकता, लेकिन मैं दूसरों का भला करूं. तो जितना भी whatever time that I have, I will contribute in uplifting the society selflessly. That is the third way of karma yoga. Fourth way of using karma yoga. Through karma yoga, what happens? How does the person come out of addiction by doing karma yoga? It is the kleshas, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha, inability to manage emotion, which lead to substance use. So by doing karma yoga, the kleshas thin out, raga, dvesha reduces. And the very act of giving selflessly provides solace and peace to the person, which he seeks through the substance. Correct? So these are the four ways through which the charioteer connects to the Atman, the fellow who is sitting behind. And all the strength actually comes from Atman only. All the strength actually comes from Atman only. But the charioteer can connect to that Atman using four approaches: cognitive, emotion cultivation, yoga techniques, and selfless service. Okay? In this way, the charioteer connects to the rider behind and then draws strength to come out of the substance. Of course, it will not happen in one day. It is never a straight line that you do today brief yogic psychotherapy counseling and from tomorrow person will leave it. No, but it will be like a wavy curve. Person will fail, but he has to get up again. This way you keep motivating the person and slowly over a period of time the change happens. So in substance use they say that relapse is a rule. When a person decides to quit, relapse is a rule. Okay, but most important thing is never give up. कभी हार नहीं मानना है. गिरना तो रूल है ही, गिरेगा, लेकिन हार नहीं मानना. अगेन यू हैव टू गेट अप. That is the important idea. So the next thing, these are the theoretical concepts that I am talking right now, and we have used this in developing this brief psychotherapy program. Another very important concept that comes is the Pancha Kosha model. We all know that there are 5 layers of existence: physical body, pranic layer, that is energy; layer of emotions, that is the Manomaya Kosha; the green one is the layer of insight, knowledge or discriminative power known as Vijnanamaya Kosha; and the 5th layer is the layer of bliss. Correct? Now, from this Panchakosha model, we have to explain the person what happens when the person uses substance. Correct? Now, the Taittiriya Upanishad provides this Panchakosha model. Correct? In the same Upanishad, there comes another concept known as happiness analysis, also called as Ananda Mimamsa. The whole idea is questioning where does the happiness come from. Correct? Please. So happiness, whether it is, you are trying to use the substance or use any other sense pleasure, where does that happiness come from? What do you think? From which layer does the happiness come? When you say you are very hungry and you get a nice chocolate pastry and you are enjoying it, you feel happy, right? As soon as the chocolate touches the tongue, you feel happy. A sense of bliss, calmness, happiness comes. From where does it come? Which layer? Annamaya Kosha. Manomaya Kosha. Simple chocolate meditation. You eat chocolate, you are very hungry, you keep chocolate on your tongue and you feel peace and bliss. Correct? My question is, which layer does it come from? She says Annamaya Kosha, she says Manomaya Kosha, he says Anandamaya Kosha.
Sir, I think from the both level, because it involves the emotional component also.
Which level? Manomaya
and layer of emotions and layer of
insight.
no, sir, layer of emotions, sir.
Layer of emotions. She says it is coming because you like chocolate, no? You have a raga towards chocolate. So because of that, chocolate is giving you joy. Same chocolate, there are people who don't like. No, some people hate dark chocolate, some people love dark chocolate, some people hate milk chocolate, some people like milk chocolate. So it is all in Manomaya Kosha. Same substance that gives you joy in another situation of life or another cultural setting or geographical location, it may not. The chocolate that you love, just before eating that chocolate, you get a phone call that your loved one has died. Same chocolate turns bitter, no? You can't enjoy it anymore. So she says it comes from Manomaya Kosha. Okay, this is something to think upon. The joy that comes when you eat chocolate, where does it come from? This is a component of psychotherapy that I will show. We are talking to the person. Then another question that can be asked is, people meditate. do variety of spiritual practices. There are Buddhist monks. They observe breath. They do deeper meditations. People do yoga nidra. Now, a meditator, when he meditates and gets that bliss and joy after meditation or a wholehearted prayer, where does that bliss come from? Which layer? Anandamaya kosha. Hmm? People online, any comments? Where does the bliss of meditation come from? Which layer?
Anandmay kosha.
Anandmaya kosha. Correct? Yes? Now the question comes is, what is the difference between the state of mind that the meditator seeks and the state of mind that a person who uses external substance, say chocolate, seeks? What is the difference? But the state of mind that is thought is what kind of state? See, I am talking about the state of the mind. See, imagine you have a chocolate. You had a craving for a long time. Now you just touch the chocolate to your tongue, and you close your eyes and you are enjoying it. Correct? In that state, when you are actually enjoying what you crave, what is the state of your mind? How is your mind in that moment? Peaceful and relaxed.
Mhm.
Happy, peaceful, relaxed, thoughtless, no thought. You're just merged into that sensation. Thoughtless, satisfied, peaceful, relaxed. In that moment, when what you crave, you get, what is the state of your mind? Everybody agrees? People online agree?
True,
Yes, sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
Now, what is the state that a meditator seeks when he meditates? Thoughtless, peace, relaxed, satisfied. Hmm? Correct?
So self-control can also be included?
No. The state of
Mhm.
mind, man. Huh? State of mind. What you seek. Hmm? So, the first and most important lesson in psychotherapy in substance use is to tell the person that you are seeking the same state of mind that a meditator seeks. It means you are a seeker. It means you are a spiritual person. There is Ananda Mimamsa, no? There is meditator also is seeking the same joy, same bliss, same happiness. Only difference is you are seeking it outside, he is seeking it inside. But you are seeking the same state. Now, this removes the guilt component out. It really improves the self-esteem of the person. Rather than calling himself a drunkard, an alcoholic, he will call himself a spiritual seeker. This change in identity is a very very important aspect. आप उसको पूछ सकते हैं कि आप बताइए, आप जब सब्सटेंस लेते हैं तो मन की कौन सी स्थिति की आपकी इच्छा है, आप कौन सी स्थिति को ढूंढते हैं? वो बताएगा एकदम शांत, शांति चाहिए आपको. You need peace. Yes, yogi also needs peace. You are also seeking the same. Okay, then comes the question, where does the ananda of a meditator come from? And where does the ananda of a person using the substance come from? The reality is that both the ananda come from Anandamaya Kosha only. Both the ananda come from Anandamaya Kosha only. Any ananda that you feel at the level of your mind, at the level of your body, has to come from Anandamaya Kosha only. There is no ananda in mind per se. When the mind becomes calm, the Anandamaya Kosha is reflected on the mind. It is not that every kosha has its own Ananda. Ananda is there only in Anandamaya Kosha only. Correct? When they settle down, Ananda touches them. Correct? So the Ananda of the meditator is coming from Anandamaya Kosha. The Ananda of the person who is using the substance is also coming from Anandamaya Kosha. And both of them are seeking the same state of mind. Correct? Then the next question is, why is it that meditator gains more freedom, happiness, and doesn't get into the cycle of being dependent? And why is it that a person who uses substance suffers? Why does a meditator not suffer? Generally, meditators don't suffer, no? They are able to enjoy that freedom, whereas a person who uses external substances gets more bound and suffers from withdrawal symptoms. Tolerance means after a certain amount of time, the same dose doesn't give him same peace. He needs higher dose. So the question then comes is, if both of them are seeking the same state of mind, if Ananda for both of them is coming from Anandamaya Kosha only, why is it that a person who uses substance suffers, but meditator does not? What do you think?
One is coming from a place of consumption, and another is coming from a place of emptiness.
Hmm.
Emptiness means empty mind.
But when you use substance also you feel emptiness of mind, no? At the moment when it touches, sense organ touch the sense object, your mind becomes empty there also. She said, your mind becomes thoughtless. In that moment when the substance touches, or as soon as you inject the drug, you really are into, if you just remove that drug component, he is in samadhi only. Hmm? Psychedelics are now coming up, mushrooms. So, so the question now is, meditator reaches gunatit avastha means what? Means I'm not able to understand. What do you see? The question, have you understood? Reaching the same state of calmness, meditation. Why does one suffer and other does not? Why? Huh? Substance harms Annamaya Kosha, whereas the meditation does not harm the Annamaya Kosha. See, harming at the level of organs happens very late. In the beginning, first time when people do it, when they develop tolerance, liver functions continue to appear normal. Their suffering is not because of that. Their some suffering is psychological. They crave, they need higher dose, and they feel withdrawal symptoms. That is their suffering, not at the level of their body. Psychologically, the restlessness, seeking the same state. See, the the state of calmness, peace, and joy that they seek comes only for a few seconds. Correct? But after that, there is restlessness. And that makes them suffer. Correct? So, so the difference in the two, the person who uses substance and the person who meditates, the difference is in the third layer. The third layer of meditator is thinned out. His kleshas have become thin. Whereas the third layer of the person who uses this substance is quite thick. He has lot of raga and lot of dvesha. So because of that, there is a difference. Now, what happens? I have lot of strong likes, lot of strong dislikes. I am dependent on the material objects, and I want to draw joy from them. I want to seek happiness from them. Now, when in that moment, when the object touches the sense organ, momentarily, in that moment, the third layer is separated, though it is very thick, it is separated, and the Ananda from the Anandamaya Kosha can reach my brain and release endorphin, dopamine, and give me that sense of bliss. Correct? Now, because the dveshas and the ragas, the kleshas in the Manomaya Kosha are too much, they are like dense cloud. If there are very dense cloud, the sunlight will not be able to reach earth. Everything will appear dark and gloomy. No, I will feel depressed and low. Correct? Then what these substances do? Just for a moment, they are able to separate the clouds by force and bring a ray of sunlight onto the surface. And that gives me a sense of solace. But what happens after that is the problem. After that, there is a rebound closure. There is a rebound closure of the Manomaya Kosha, much more tighter than it was in the beginning. Why? Because the person is not looking at, because the person is not able to understand that it is the dense cloud of the Manomaya Kosha. It is the dense cloud of the Manomaya Kosha which is not allowing him an access to his own Anandamaya Kosh. In fact, in the very beginning, when the person got into substance, why does a person get into substance use? This is the 5-layer model of human existence according to yoga. First layer is the layer of body, second layer is the pranic layer, third layer is the layer of emotions, strong likes, strong dislikes. Fourth, the green one is the layer of knowledge and insight, and fifth is the layer of bliss, the blue. Now, when a person uses the substance, he wants to feel his own ananda, he wants to feel his satisfaction. Correct? Generally, when the kleshas in the Manomaya Kosha, the third layer, are not very thick, person is easily able to access that ananda by performing day-to-day activities, going for a party with friend, going for a ride, or simple joys of life will make him happy. But when this layer becomes thick, then simple joys of life will not give me the happiness. The clouds are too dark and dense, and sunlight will not enter.
हेलो
It is then
मम्मा मैंने क्लास अटेंड करी मैं बाद में बात करती हूँ
that you feel that you need something to gain ananda within you. It is then that you start using substance. Whoever has very thick layer of emotional distress, that kind of a person will only get into substance because his Anandamaya Kosha is not normally and naturally accessible to him. And that's why when he uses the substance, by force, the emotion dysregulation is calmed down for a flash, for a moment. He gains access to his own Ananda. And then the problem is after that it closes even more intensely in a rebound fashion. And then the person feels even more miserable next day morning or when that bout of binge drinking or eating is over. You understand? So the whole idea is that a meditator seeks the same state of bliss by very systematically thinning out the third layer. Correct? So he is not seeking a shortcut. The ananda of a meditator starts, with a very mild sense of bliss, but as he continues to meditate, along with meditation, mind you, the meditator also follows the lifestyle of non-harming, satya, ahimsa, yama, niyama. And with that, his manomaya kosha, the third layer of emotional dysregulation, becomes thinner, 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 and more thinner. And then the anandamaya kosha is very easily accessible to him. Seeing a flower on the roadside makes him go into same bliss as a person requires 350 ml of alcohol to go to. Now, what happens? So, this is the picture of a person with substance use. The bliss that is coming from the same layer in both, whereas for the meditator, it is something like this. Anandamaya kosha has grown. The third layer has become very, very thin, and the ananda is very easily accessible to the person. Are you able to understand? Okay. So these are the theoretical constructs that you have to make the person understand before you bring the concept of yoga philosophy based psychotherapy for addiction. These are the niyamas that Patanjali talk about, which can help in thinning out the manomaya kosha or the kleshas in the manomaya kosha. Klesha tanu karunartham samadhi bhavanarthascha. What is the use of yoga, yogic lifestyle? Kleshas should become thin and samadhi bhavana should come. So we have to understand that a person who is using substance is also seeking samadhi. A yogi is also seeking samadhi. The only difference is that yogi follows a very systematic approach: yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and then samadhi. Whereas a person who uses substance wants it in a shortcut, and he says, "Itna kaun karega? Who will do all this? Let me just put the substance on my tongue, and I am in samadhi." Correct? So the difference is he uses a shortcut approach to reach the same state that a yogi follows a very systematic path to reach. So first lesson that you have to explain to the person who uses substance is that you are also a seeker of peace and happiness. A yogi or a meditator is also a seeker of peace and happiness. So you should not feel guilty about it. Because guilt is also a major problem which doesn't allow the person to come out. But then he also should have to understand that, are there any other ways in which I can reach the same state of mind? See, very insightful thinking here is that I am not craving for the substance. I am craving for the state of mind that this substance brings. Once the shift changes, once he is able to understand that ये substance मुझे नहीं चाहिए, मुझे वो state of mind चाहिए, I want that state of mind which the substance gives me, then the question that we can ask him is, what do you think? Are there any ways in which you can reach the same state of mind without depending on anything external? This is how you motivate the person to get onto the path of yoga and yoga based lifestyle. So you can, as I already explained to you, you can use the path of Raj Yoga, that is yogic techniques, Jnana Yoga, that is the cognitive techniques, Bhakti Yoga for emotional cultivation, Karma Yoga for selfless service. So these are the fundamental ideas. Now, based on this, in this particular research, we developed the BIP module. What is BIP? Brief Yoga Philosophy Based Psychotherapy. Now, in this, during the development phase, we searched the relevant yogic literature from these traditional texts, and these concepts were used to motivate individuals to engage with the developed yoga protocol. So one of the objective was, once I have a brief, so this whole session came up to be 20-minute session. 20-minute session before I begin the teaching of the specific yoga module for substance use, to motivate the person to adhere to that module. Correct? This was one objective. And the second was, of course, that he should be able to understand the rationale how yoga is working. Okay, which kosha these practices are working, how they are thinning out my manomaya kosha, and how my anandamaya kosha is more accessible to me without depending on any substance. So when we search this literature, we got, in our initial phase, we got 6 concepts. Okay, from the literature. First one was the happiness analysis or Ananda Mimamsa from the Taittiriya Upanishad, alongside the concept of Shreyas and Preyas from the Katha Upanishad. They highlight the conflict between short-term gratification and lasting well-being, which is central to addiction recovery. Now, what is happiness analysis? This is simply asking the person, what is the state of mind that you seek when you use substance? Then explaining him, where does that bliss or ananda come from? And then we also talk to them that there are 2 paths. One is that you can immediately take gratification by momentarily separating your manomaya kosha, but then in rebound it will close even more tight and you will be more away from your anandamaya kosha and require higher dose of substance to reach the same state next time. So you will be caught into this vicious cycle. Or you can follow the path of Shreyas. What is the path of Shreyas? Shreyas is that I will have a long-term goal. In the beginning, it may appear very bitter to me, but in the end, it will be sweet. Now you are all students, getting up in the morning, getting ready, attending boring classes. This is all very troublesome. But at the end, you think that when I complete my course, when I get my degree, it will be a very sweet moment. Therefore, let me go through it. This is path of Shreyas. But path of Preyas is, today morning it is so cold, winter, okay, fine, I will manage tomorrow, let me sleep. So this is path of Preyas. Immediately it appears very sweet, but then later on when all your friends attend the whole day, they talk to each other, oh, what happened, what you missed, then you feel very bitter about it. So what appears sweet in the beginning becomes bitter later is the path of Preyas. What is the path of Shreyas? It appears bitter in the beginning, but turns sweet later and it has a lasting peace. So we talk about it. This is the first idea that came up from the Upanishads. Second concept that came up was self-inquiry or Atma Pariksha. Here you explain to them the Panchakosha model in detail and you also explain them the chariot model that comes from Katha Upanishad. There are these 2 understanding of the self. Self as 5-layer existence and self as chariot. Correct? In both these, you ask the person, and make him introspect on how is his life going on or how is the balance of these things within his own self. And then from Bhagavad Gita, the concept of higher self and lower self comes. Atmaeva hyatmano bandhuhu, atmaeva ripuratmanah. Man himself is his own enemy. Man himself is his own best friend. So elevate yourself, elevate your lower self using the power from your higher self. So this higher self is the intellect, buddhi and the atma. Lower self is the mind and the senses. Correct? So how can you strengthen that? And from the Panchakosha model, the idea comes is how can you use your own Vijnanamaya Kosha to thin out your kleshas in the Manomaya Kosha and gain greater access to your own Ananda. Another important idea that comes exclusively from yoga therapy is that my Ananda comes from within me only. This is nowhere there in any psychotherapy model that your Ananda is within you. So this is very important. Then the third concept that came up was the concept of Jagrata Swapna Sushupti that comes from Mandukya Upanishad. And here, the expert suggested that we should try to make the person aware of the transcendental awareness or the Turiya Sthiti, that the state that I seek in substance use, it is neither wakeful nor dream nor sleep. It is beyond that, and that state can also be achieved by deeper meditation. Then the concept of Pratipaksha Bhavana that comes from Patanjali, where Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha, these are the emotions that can be channelized positively to turn the negative thought patterns, to stop the negative thought patterns. How is it? Patanjali says, you come across people in different state of mind in your life. If a person is in a state of happiness, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekshanam, Sukha, Dukha, Punya, Vishayanam, Pratipaksha Bhavana. Correct? So if a person is happy, what is the attitude that you should have towards him? Friendliness. If a person is suffering, what is the attitude you should have towards it? Karuna, means compassion. Maitri towards a person who is in Sukha. Karuna towards a person who is in Dukha. Then you also come across Punya and Apunya, virtue and vice. People doing good things, people doing bad things. What is your attitude when a person does good? Mudita. Mudita means what? Praise him, congratulate him, be open and do not feel shy. If somebody does good, go into social media, put the post. I like it when some rickshaw driver, auto driver does something good, people post it. And then everybody appreciates him. So this is known as mudita. When you see something good, you should not be shy about it. You should be bold and be talking to everybody about it. And then this is for chitta prasadanam, for your peace of mind. And then he says, apunya, when you see things which are wrong, upeksha. Upeksha means just ignore. It is for the peace of mind. If you can do something about it, if it is in your hand, you do that. But in general, Patanjali says that the whole path is to turn inwards. It is the peace of mind. So Patanjali talks about upeksha. Upeksha doesn't mean ignoring. Upeksha in its essence means that you try to reach that state of mind within you where whenever you see an apunya happening, you do not gossip about it. It happens in teamwork in our school colleges also. When people do a mistake and they are very guilty about it, we make them more guilty by gossiping it, or we spread those mistakes, among the team everywhere. So in yogic psychotherapy, they say if somebody does a mistake, you call the person separately, just talk to him, tell him to correct, try to keep it confidential, because the person may be willing to change. Whereas if a person does good, you should be open, bold, and talking to everybody about it. You should, declare it openly. But what we do generally in our life is, if a person does good, we ignore. People do good things, what? It is okay. But when they do a mistake, we are open about it. We want to talk a lot about it. So Patanjali says, if you want peace of mind, change your attitude. So this is a concept that came up from the Yoga Sutra. So Maitri towards Sukha, Karuna towards Dukha, Mudita towards Punya, and Upeksha towards Apunya. Then, of course, somebody said about concept of yamas and niyamas, ethical guidelines. To thin out the klesha, fundamentally to thin out the klesha, we should talk about what are the do's and don'ts. So you should do 5 yamas are satya, ahimsa, asteya, aparigraha, brahmacharya. And 5 niyamas are santosh, shauch, santosha, tapah, swadhyaya, and ishwar pranit. And then there is another concept that came up, self-empowerment through enhancing the sense of non-doership from Ashtavakra Gita. Everything is done by the forces of nature. I am a non-doer. That kind of a concept that came up from Ashtavakra Gita, releasing the ego-driven sense of control and promoting a therapeutic approach centered on acceptance and surrender. I am not the doer. Everything is done by the Maya of the divine. So that is the second, the path that. So these are, during the development phase, we came up with these concepts based on literature search. Now these 6 concepts were given to experts in the field of psychiatry, psychology, counseling, psychotherapy, and yoga. All those 30 experts sat together and discussed on these 6 concepts. This is a thesis paper. And from those concepts, they gave a score to each concept, and 2 concepts qualified for use in brief yoga based psychotherapy. And these 2 concepts are, first 2, happiness analysis, that is Ananda Mimamsa, and self inquiry, that is Atma Pariksha. Also, we told them that we have less time, it should be a brief session, it should finish in 20 minutes. And what are the things that you recommend with an objective that the person should be motivated to do the yoga? It is not a, understand that the objective of developing this module is that when a person is given yoga techniques, he should be motivated to continue to practice them. It is not a complete module to take the person out of substance use, but it will definitely help the person be more motivated to do yoga. So this module should be given as a single session before starting the yoga practices, and then the person can get into yoga practice and continue doing yoga practice. Okay. So only these 2 concepts pass the content validity ratio. All other 4 concepts couldn't get through. So the concept of Jagrata Swapna or Pratipaksha Bhavana or Yama Niyama or the sense of non-doership from Ashtavakra Gita did not get through. Because of various reasons. People felt that if they follow this Ashtavakra Gita concept of being, I'm not the doer of anything, person may become more reckless. He may get to, in fact, his substance use may worsen, because he may not be able to understand the subtle aspects of this knowledge, and it may harm him. For Yama Niyama, they said that directly just instructing the person do this and don't do this won't work, unless the person really wants to understand. And in a single session, you cannot just tell them do's and don'ts. It will not work. So that also didn't qualify. For Pratipaksha Bhavana, they say that it is not directly related to substance use, and probably, the objective of developing the module will not be achieved. Of course, in the long run, if you want a bigger module, these concepts may help. The state of Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti appear too complex for the person to understand what is Turiya and transcendental state, and that is why they said that these 4 concepts couldn't qualify the ratio. But the number 1 highest validity was received for happiness analysis, Ananda Mimamsa, because ultimately they will really agree that I am doing it for my happiness. And it is not only for substance, anything that you are addicted to, binge watching, coffee drinking, anything that you get addicted to, you are actually searching happiness. Correct? Even in relationship, we get addicted to people also. We search happiness, right? So, and the second is introspection. Self-analysis played a very important role. So, final BIP module had 2 components: Ananda Mimamsa, Atma Pariksha. Okay. So, what do you exactly do? How do you talk to the person when you are going to imply these 2 concepts? Okay. So, the first concept of happiness analysis involves an inquiry into the mind's state when seeking happiness through the substance use, prompting participant with the question such as, how does it begin? Can you describe the state of mind you seek when you use substance? Correct? So, madam, what do you think? What is the state of mind that a person seeks when he uses substance?
Forgets everything that is causing him any trouble.
Yes.
Blissful or happy.
Happy, blissful, relaxed, letting go of all the worries and tensions. That is what a person seeks. Correct? The concept also compares the happiness derived from meditation with that from substance use, encouraging reflection on differences with the questions like, people who meditate, madam, now I am giving therapy to you. People who meditate also seek a similar state of mind. Do you agree? Freedom from worries, bliss, relaxation, happiness. People who meditate also seek the same happiness. You know, what do you think may be the difference between the two?
They follow a systematic way. This person is trying to
Take a shortcut. Now, this is what you have realized because I have told you. But in your dialogue with the person, once this question comes, you have to make him think about it. It should come from within him. That will have a psychotherapeutic transformational impact. First, before telling that, you have to tell the person. So, this means that you are also a meditator in a way. You are also seeking the same state of happiness what a yogi or a meditator seeks. It means, like a yogi or a meditator, you are also a spiritual seeker. This improves their self esteem, removes guilt.
tell it's a spiritual seeker. Everyone will seek happiness. Someone through spiritual way and someone through like some means. Like they'll seek happiness in relationship, seek happiness with food. He is seeking the happiness with substance, but you can't tell them as you are also spiritual speaker, right, sir?
See, you have to, probably you can use another word also, but fundamentally you have to understand that they are seeking the same state of mind which a meditator is seeking. Why is meditator so different from general people who seek happiness? What differentiates a meditator from worldly people who are seeking happiness? Why do we, respect meditator?
Also considered, if manas is also considered indriya, meditators seek bliss through that indriya, rest of the world through sense organs.
Why do we respect? We respect meditators, right? We think, oh, he's a good person, he meditates. Generally, people have a positive value about them. Why is that? Because this person is very intense about it. He is seeking happy. Everybody is seeking happiness, but this person is very intense. He is able to give up the world, the worldly desires, withdraw himself, and get into this particular path of self control through meditation. That is why we respect the person, right? So, meditator is the one who is more intense than worldly people. That's why he is meditating, right? If a person is not intense in seeking that peace, he will not meditate. Who will, take a separate time out from his busy schedule and meditate? One who really, really strongly seeks that state. You agree or not? Madheshwari.
Everyone are seeking happiness.
But meditator is more intense. That is why he's taking a separate time out to seek that happiness which people are seeking in their routine life.
Seek happiness. With like they work for
Even if you are seeking, are you doing something about it to actively seek it? Meditator does something about it.
he is independent about all sense organs. All
That is okay, but the intensity of seeking is more in meditator. Do you agree? Because he is doing something about it. Correct? In the same way, a person who uses substance is also doing something about it which is not a routine mundane life. He is also taking a risk, no, for his health, for everything. Why? Because he wants it much more intensely than people who are there in worldly life in general. Meditator also wants it very intensely. A person who uses substance also wants it much more intensely than others. My intensity of seeking that state, in a meditator also it is more than people in general. In a person with substance use also it is more than people in general. Do you agree or not? So that is why they are both are spiritual seekers. Anybody, any comments on this? You agree or you disagree? Agree. They leave their everything because they want that state of mind. Meditator also leave everything. Wrong or right, seeking the goal for both of them is same, and they are leaving world for that.
They won't surrender everything. They would look for an alternative thing. Like they could look for another job where they are not required to surrender so much, right? Whereas in meditator, they can surrender everything for the sake of the happiness, peace of mind.
See, why meditator does? Meditator also is selfish, no? He leaves the world, family, children, everything, becomes a monk. Why? He wants his own state of mind within him. I want to be happy. Substance use person is also saying, I want to be happy. क्या बोलते हो सदाव्रत? एग्री करते हो?
Got it, sir. Two extremes.
Two extremes seeking the same state. That is what is very important. These people really suffer from a loss of self-esteem. They are really down. Till their self-esteem improves, they will not come out of substance. Because they remember that time when they had a lot of respect in society, when they had good body built, when everybody was, looking after them. And then they see, यार मैं पहले कैसा था, अभी मैं कैसा हो गया, अभी क्या life का कोई meaning नहीं क्या. But then this gives them a meaning to their life, a purpose to their life. Oh, in a way, I am also a meditator only. I think I also have it in me. So self-esteem bringing up is very important. In fact, what you asked is a very good question. This discussion can go even more intense with them, saying, see, everybody seeks happiness. So why do you think that you are like a meditator? Then you can say that, see, meditator also leaves everything. It means your intensity to seek that state is so strong. If what you need is just a switch, you can become a great meditator. Much more than general average people, because you have that intensity in you. इससे उसको मोटिवेशन आएगा. ठीक है. So this is the way the next question comes. So what do you think is the difference between the two? Then once the difference comes, then you bring the concept, additionally, it explores the true happiness with the question, is it the substance you crave, or is it the state of mind that the substance bring you into? What do you crave for? Do you crave for substance or that state of mind? उसको बोलेंगे कि if I give you lot of substance, but at the same time I also give you, an antidote for that substance which will not allow you to get that state of mind, then you don't want that substance. Correct? Or even if the same substance is given to you and it is not able to bring you to that state of mind, you don't want it. But if I give you something, I don't even tell its name what it is, but if it brings you to that state of mind, you say, give me this thing, I don't want that substance. Correct? So ultimately what you are seeking is the state of mind. So that is very important. Do you think it is possible to reach the same state of mind without any external substance? Now, before this concept come, you have to explain to him how, through the Pancha Kosha model, how your Manomaya Kosha, is temporarily separating, and then you are getting it more tight next day morning, hangover and other thing, and how you have to thin out that. Then ask him question, is it possible, do you think it is possible to reach a state of mind without any substance, but the same state? So this is the first phase, the part 1, which is known as Ananda Mimamsa, discussion that goes on in the initial 10 minutes. And then comes the second phase where you have prepared him, and then you ask him to do self-analysis. Here the Panchakosha model is explained. Focus on the connection between bliss body and the emotional body with a guiding question. The relaxation and peace of mind you experience while using substance, which layer of existence do you think this comes from? He will also answer, no, my happiness comes from probably Manomaya Kosha, but the happiness of a meditator comes from Anandamaya Kosha. He may say that. Then finally you tell him that the happiness of both of you come from the same source, but only the approach is different. And then you also explain to him finally the parable of the chariot, explaining the example in Katha Upanishad. You can show that chariot to him, you know, and you say that the senses are the horses, reins is the mind, the charioteer is the intellect, and your higher self, the Atma, is the rider. Now you tell me, in your life, who has the control? Horses have the control, or the Atman, the rider, has the control, the intellect has the control. Correct? So, when using substances, do you think your intellect is under the control of your higher self or your lower self? Who is the rider of the chariot in that moment of substance use? When you really, give away, you have been abstaining for some time, and the moment come when you say that I am starting it again. In that moment, what happens? Is your permission taken? You have to first permit that, okay, I will not give the control to my higher self. The control is given to the horses and I am down again. Correct? So then you tell the person that relapse is a rule. It is not that after one therapy session that you will be completely cured or you will never use substance. This path is filled with lot of ups and down, lows. The most important thing is, whenever you relapse, never give up, stand again. Never giving up becomes a very, very important concept when coming out of substance use. Nobody comes out in a straight line. Everybody follows a wavy course. There will be multiple relapses, but one day you will come out of it. Understand? So this is what I wanted to discuss with all of you. The idea of using yoga philosophy based psychotherapy in managing substance use.